when a large continent sort of hit Asia and it scrunched up and created the Himalayas. So that's a very young soil and it's a very young rock. That's why it breaks down very easily and there's a lot of erosion there. So what we need to do is come down into the south where it's the oldest rocks. And this is the oldest rock, and so there are some elements, like for instance in the headwaters of the Narmada River. You can walk up there in just beyond Jabalpur, and you can walk up into the riverbeds there, and you can pick these crystals up. So any of you want a nice holiday, going around and with a bag of crystals, you know, for your garden, you can just put it in a backpack and walk away with it. It's cheaper that way. If you don't have the time to do that, you'll have to probably pay up to $1,000 a kilo for this. So there are rock shops that sell this because they all consider that it's lucky to put this under your pillow. It's got crystal effects and whatnot. There's a whole lot of crystal sort of magic that we talk about. Yeah. So it's to do with rubies, diamonds, and silica is one of those elements that's considered good for energy. So the other place, and this is where I get mine from, because I love to go back to that place every year, is a place called Ellora. Everybody knows Ellora?
Yeah.
So you'll find, as you're going up to those incredible temples there, particularly Cave 16 there, where they've got this beautiful Ellora temple. Everybody's seen that? Kailash? You can buy it on the side of the road. People are selling it there. They'll charge you between 800 and 1,000. You can get it from the merchants for 500. So those are the ranges. In Oroville, they have rock shops there. They're charging 2,000. So it just depends on where you want to get it from. If you need a lot, like we do, then it's worth making a trip to those places and buying it directly from the dealers. Okay? So we have to take it from this element. We have to initially grind it. We have to put this here into this metal container. Make sure the metal container is dry and there's no rust in it. So you can even see here that it's kind of gotten rusty. So just make sure before you start, just
David, I can't use the rock one like that. Rock.
See, the problem is that you know what we grind our spices with. It's a granite, and the granite is softer than silica. So when you grind, you'll end up with some of the granite in it, which is okay. A granite's not going to. There is quite a bit of silica in granite, but it's not as pure. We want it as pure as possible. So we use a metal. I mean, ideally stainless steel would be good, but this is cheaper. Just make sure that if it's a metal like this, it tends to rust. So before the season, just wash it out, dry it, put it in the sun until there's no rust. Then you put it in here, and you grind. I'm not going to do this one because it's such a beautiful crystal, but this is a result of doing that here. So you get it down to this kind of consistency, and you grind it up like that, and it's quite a laborious process. And because it's silica, get yourself a very good mask. You can, even better than, I would say you'd need an N95 or whatever. There are specific masks to prevent silicosis, because if you're doing a lot, if you're doing it just for your house, just put a cloth over it, it's fine. Keep your mouth away from it. Don't breathe it in, because silicosis is something that gets into your lungs and you can't get it out, and you end up maybe 20 years afterwards you're suffering from it. So when we do this, we have workers doing it. Everyone's got masks on. It looks like they're living on Mars. So just grind that up into a powder. Get it to that point, and when it gets to that point, you put it into this ingenious thing. which is, that's the powder that you end up with here. From here, you put it into here. So you grind it into here, you put it through a cloth or a sieve like this. And then if you do that, you end up getting that out. Then you put this back in again. It's kind of a laborious process till you get it to this point. At which point, you get this marvelous sound that everybody loves. So this is the, and this here is toughened glass. Now, if you're like me and you have ancestry that's Presbyterian kind of Scottish ancestry, we don't like to spend too much money. Very similar to the Patels, actually, you know. And what you do is you go into a used car dealer's dump yard, and you can get very cheaply a car that has broken glasses and whatnot. You can buy a sheet of toughened glass for like 10 rupees. So only 10 rupees. Yeah. So and then you just put it into here, put it into a box, because this thing has a tendency to fly off in all directions. So if you put it into a box like this, and you can see it's his favorite sound. You remember your teacher when you used to the chalk on the blackboard? Yeah.
Why are you doing this?
So you have that powder, it becomes a powder like that. And it's actually not, it's still crystals. And it still creates a prism when it hits the sunlight, and it lands on the leaf, and it enhances the photosynthesis for the plant. So it's actually very important to get that fine powder. You put it into that, and then you put it into your cow horn. And Ravi, do we have enough to put it into the horn?
Yeah, we have enough.
It's not here, so rather than just
fill it up with silica.
so basically, what we take this powder and we fill up this horn here. But before we do that, we have to put it into a bowl, and I don't have the bowl here.
Can we fill it up in something besides horns?
You can. I use clay cones.
Okay.
Okay. Super. Thank you. So what you do is, in order to, when you have this powder ready, if you put the powder into here and you put it upside down, it will all pour out like sand in this hourglass, right? So what we have to do is we have to put it into a bowl, mix it into a slurry, into a thick slurry, and then with water, with crystal spring water. And then we put it into here, and we make it settle down like we do with the 500 horn application. And then when you sit at the overnight, you leave it, and it sets. It doesn't set like cement, it sets like this, okay? And it stops pouring, okay? So at that point, you can turn it upside down, you can put it in there, and then you leave it after March the 21st, after the equinox. You put it in the ground and you leave it there until, take it out around about the 21st of September. Which 21st of September is what? From the point of view of our seasonal rhythms. Huh? Solstice. Or is it the equinox? Yes, it's the equinox. It's the autumn equinox. September 21st, and that is to say, by equinox we mean equal day, equal night, right? So we're going to be talking about that in the calendar. So you take it out, and it'll look like this. You scrape off some of that dirt that comes there. You just take that out a little bit. Sometimes you can cap it with a little bit of clay to prevent that coloring. And then you tip this out, and then you dry it. And when you dry it, you'll end up with 501 that looks like that. Once it's dried out. This looks discolored, but once it dries out, it's the discoloration is only in the liquid that's in here. Once you dry it out, you get a beautiful white powder like this. And this is your 501, your digested silica. Okay? Anyone have any doubts on that? It's an easy one to make, and everybody should make it for their farm. If you're too lazy, you can buy it, but you pay a bomb. You pay around 25 rupees per gram, which is not a lot per acre, but yeah, and there's a lot of work to it. So when we sell this as white 100, which is the equivalent of the BD 501, and we buy it for around about $1,000. We make it. All that energy that goes into it, and we sell it at, for anyone who wants to buy it, who's too lazy to make it, we charge them 25 rupees a gram. So, your choice. Per acre, it's not too much. But if you have like 10,000 acres, then maybe you want to make your own. You know? Okay?
Maybe we do have the crystals, the quartz we have. We're selling it 800.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, we have enough.
Oh, good,
And
good.
we're also selling